and welcome to the Frivolous and Fruity Knitting Podcast. We are two sisters who share our fondness for knitting, the things that we create, and our love for the knitting community. And we do it all with a twist of both the frivolous and the frugal. I'm Dawn. I am fourth in the birth order, and I'm currently living in Wisconsin.
And I'm Penny, Frugal Miss Penny, and I am the oldest of the 8. And I live in Ohio. We just have a hearty hello and welcome back to our returning viewers. It just tickles us that you come along and join our ride as we sit and chat. And for those of you who are first-time visitors, welcome. We're so glad you took out a few minutes to give us a try. We're very well aware that there are many options out there these days. So thanks so much. Now, before we get started, it's very important that you grab your knitting, your favorite note-taking device, your sense of humor, and I just have to mention that while we are frivolous, we are not fruity, we are frugal. So take it away, Dawn, with episode 20.
You know, we've gotten a few new subscribers, so we should just do a quick little pitch about how the podcast got started. What do you think about that?
I think that'd be a great idea. Go ahead.
So Penny and I were raised in a large Catholic family in eastern Iowa, and it was a small town. And so it's one of those towns where everybody knew your parents. And if you got in trouble, it was you're one of Jack and Pat's. Yeah, so, and our mom crocheted early. So I think all three of us girls learned to crochet probably. Well, you and I did. I don't know if Nikki ever did. And so I think we've always just had something in our hands. And then you introduced me to knitting in a more serious tone. I'm going to guess it was just, what, 2005 maybe?
Probably. I started knitting seriously in 2001.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it took me, I was a little slow. It took me a while.
Well, you had other things in your hands at that time, Dawn.
So now all of us siblings are kind of spread out, and but we do remain close as a family, and
we do
get the biggest bang out of doing this podcast. So that's just a quick little background on us. And again, welcome to the new viewers. I'm grateful that I rock knits. Corey mentioned this on our podcast, so I think our numbers have popped a little bit. So
thank you, Miss Corey. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And the original intent of the podcast was just to keep our family abreast of what we were doing, because when we would gather together, they would ask us what we were knitting, because we knit the whole time. When we're sitting around talking, whether we're inside, outside, in public, or in private, we are always knitting. And so they would ask us questions. So we just decided it might be kind of fun to have a podcast. So thanks, brothers and sister, for watching.
Absolutely. Now, I think you asked me what's around my neck.
Yes. What's around your neck?
This is,
I really like it.
I know, I kind of forget about some of the shawls. This is Sprite's Fen. It's by Helen Stewart. And I think it might have been part of her very first or maybe second shawl society. I forget. But it is knit in Malabrigo sock in the Impressionist colorway. And I kind of just like the way it drapes a little bit.
I do too. It's very pretty.
And then that way, if your shirt is stained right here.
Go ahead and show us your stain. You might as well just come clean. Oh, that was a figure of speech, but anyway, never mind.
I just like it. And I don't know, it's just that edging, that feather and fan kind of look that makes it lay really nice. So I like it.
Well, I do too. And today I'm wearing a more appropriate cowl for a human. This is the painterly cowl. It is by Casapinka. I knit it in the KnitCircus fingering weight. It was a twin set for socks, and I believe the base is blue face luster. So it is a bit scratchy. I will say on my frugalometer, though, I gave it $4 signs. It's a bit pricey for those of us who like to knit, but nevertheless, real pretty colors, just a pop.
Yeah.
And, oh, go ahead.
It just looks really nice against your white blouse.
Thank you. Well, it is covering up a missing button, for the record. I have a missing button here and on my sleeve, just for the record. But you know what? Pearl's not missing a thing today.
Oh,
She
no.
is sporting Alliteration #2 scarf that measured, I think, 73 inches. So those of you who have been following us know that I use all my bits and bobs from my scraps to create wild and crazy scarves. So it is complete, and I've already cast on #3, but we'll get to that later.
Good for you. So
Yeah.
what are you working on, or what's on your needles?
Well, I started, this is hat number 19, and it is called Beloved. And I'm going to bring it up because it has some very nice texture. Many of you are going to recognize it as a double seed stitch. So you know, in a seed stitch, one row you knit one, purl one the whole way around, and then the second row you turn that opposite and you purl one and knit one. So you get a wonderful, wonderful little texture. And that's basically, not the whole secret sauce, but it's basically what this hat is. And I am using the Mint Rain Superwash Worsted in the Red Wings color, because this is another one of my Bucky Badger hats for the family. And I am going to tell you that I don't want to try and pronounce the designer's name. It is a French derivation, I believe. I'll do my best, but please forgive me if I really do a bad job. Her name is Solenn Couwl-Loarer.
Amen.
What's on your needles?
I am working on the Dissent cowl.
Yes.
Let me show you the color work. It's just slip stitches, but isn't that a fun pop of color?
Ooh,
So
I do like that.
Yeah, just two colors, the solid and the variegated. And it is a paid for pattern on Ravelry, but I wanted to show you what it looks like when it's done.
Oh,
So
darn.
I'm just now right to this strip. But what's interesting is it's pretty long, and I think I'm always a little too worried that it's too stiff around the neck. So you can take what I'm doing now, and I'll try not to show too much of this paid for pattern. The polka dots, you see them on the inside?
I do.
So this will fold in on itself and just make that a little sturdier as a cowl. So yeah, very simple. Actually, something you can do while knitting in public or knitting virtually. And it is with DK weights. It was a kit sold by Magpie Cottage, kind of when there was all that promotion going on to support the local yarn store once COVID hit. So a Carlton DK weight yarn, I think it's just in the navy. And then this variegated is by Itty Bitty.
Itty Bitty, that's too
I think
fun.
It's Sugar Bush Yarns, Itty Bitty, and then it's in the Pastel Pizzazz colorway.
Well, how fitting for Frugal or Frivolous Dawn.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, I don't know, I think I only gave it $2 because it was it's definitely a reasonable kind of yarn for DK. So
wonderful.
Yeah. So with any luck at all, maybe I'll have this finished by, I was going to say next week, but I'm thinking, don't commit, girl, don't commit.
Oh, you'll have it finished by tonight. We have our virtual knit along. It'll be finished tonight, girl. You know what I appreciate though about that pattern too, Dawn, is that she is a brand new designer to me. I have never heard of Carissa Browning before.
Yeah, and I don't know how I heard about this cowl. For some reason, I was thinking maybe I was watching a podcast.
Okay.
And then we got talking about it at Magpies, and then everybody just decided, let's cast on. And Joanne was willing to put kits together. So some of them have been amazing. As I have the dark color, she sold a kit that was white, and that instead of pastel variegate, it was the primary color variegate.
Yeah.
That looks just as nice. And then I saw one done with black yarn and white.
Ooh.
Yeah. And Amy Schulte did one too, and I can't remember the color she used, but it was striking.
Was it?
She wore it on Magpie's Cottage podcast, I think last week or the week before. So if you want to look at a couple different ones. So yeah, I think it's pretty. And I don't mind slip stitches once I remembered how to do them. Yeah.
I kind of like slip stitches myself.
Yeah.
I also have another project on my needles, so I'll go ahead and just share quickly what that is. Do you mind if I kind of blend two parts of this? Because it has something to do with what I learned. So geez, my life is nothing but a book of lessons, which is all right. Some of you may remember in episode 19, I told you that I cast on my new 6 sweet sweaters. More alliteration. Thank you. And I learned a huge lesson. You can only invite one to the fight. So here is this heirloom sweater. I love the pattern, but as you can see, because of my yarn choice, you can't see the pattern.
Yeah, you're right.
When am I ever going to learn that you can't have the pattern and the yarn fighting? I did it again. So I was going to frog it, but I thought I'd share it with all of you to say this. Think about which you want to feature in your garments. Do you want to feature the yarn or do you want to feature the pattern? The more the texture, the more solid your yarn needs to be. It can't distract from that pattern. And having said that, I want to thank Miss Debbie Trainer, who is the designer for that Splendid Squares hat.
Oh, yeah.
Confirmed what I discovered last week in that hat when I knit it in a dark, dark gray and couldn't see the pattern and the texture nearly as well. So thank you, Miss Debbie, for that. So I'm going to frog this today and reuse this yarn in a very simple, boring pattern.
But then it'll showcase the yarn.
Absolutely, because the yarn is gorgeous. So to replace it, I cast on, here's a better example. I cast on this, one of my sweet 6 sweaters. The name of this pattern right here is Little Hanten. It's a pieced garment, as you can see, in garter stitch, but I have this really fun striped yarn from Universal Yarns. And so I will put the sleeves on, and then it has a very pretty band that wraps around almost like a shawl collar around the front, a shawl collar. And so I will finish that this week. And, you know, if I could give a $- Dawn on my frugalometer, because, you know, on the frugalometer, less is more, right? I got to tell you, knitters, this little sweater is going to cost me just a little over $5 in fiber. I got this yarn on sale for $3.75 a skein.
Well, when you said negative, I thought it meant you stole it from somebody walking by.
Hey, I like the way you think. We used to do that with flowers from the cemetery, I think, to give to Mom. But yeah.
One more thing to add to our therapy list, right?
Right. Boy, we're going to have to put this therapist on retainer. So what's on your needles?
I was thinking of your sweater. I love that shawl collar or that kimono look. I just think that is a, I was going to say priceless, not priceless. That is a timeless kind of look.
I would agree.
Yeah. Here is Herbivore by Stephen West.
Oh, look at that, Dawn. Your center spine is all aligned.
Well, that's my lesson this week. Holy guacamole. This is a paid-for pattern by Stephen West, who, by the way, doesn't say less is more. He says more is more.
Well, we know where he would fall on the frugalometer.
I want to have him over for lunch someday.
I bet you do. So do I.
Yeah, so this is lovely, lovely yarn. It's by Leading Men Fiber Arts. The picture may not be showing true color, or maybe next to the blue. It is a darker green kind of. They call it all the way to the bank. I assume the green that's in money. And it is that monologue base, which is the silk yak and wool. And it is just delightfully squishy. And it's a singles yarn, so I'm hoping it blooms. And look, a lifeline. I wonder why I needed that.
Well, please explain. I'm dying to know.
just so you know, after today, I'm no longer Frivolous Dawn.
Oh, you have a new name?
I have a new name, Tinkerbell, or Miss Tink-a-lot, or whatever, because I know.
I like Tink-a-lot.
Have you seen Miss Tink-a-lot? All right, that's what I'm going to be. Frivolous Miss Tink-a-lot. Okay. I know. I need a life. Okay. This COVID is getting to me. So I was knitting with Virtually the other night with some of the gals from Magpies, and I had commented that I had to tink back multiple rows multiple times. And Miss Cheryl said, well, did you ever think about putting in a lifeline? Why, no, I didn't. So I kind of blew it off until you said it last night. And I'm thinking, all right, that's it. I'm putting in a lifeline. But I was off on the center spine. And so what happens for me when there's yarn overs and they're only on one side of the fabric, if I forget one, it changes the straightness of the spine, or if you put in extra. So my line was going like this, and then it took like a you only need to put it up on the screen once when you see that error. And because of all the twisted stitches, I tried dropping that back just to fix it, but I had forgotten so many that I didn't have enough yarn to do those extra yarn overs, and then it was pulling it or puckering it together. So I think I'm at 14 inches. The pattern calls for 20. I'm just going to go till my yarn because it's just a simple garter. I think there's 4 of us doing it at Magpies, and you should see the colorways. One is just as spectacular as the next one.
Are they really? Are they all doing it in Leading Men?
3 of us are, and I think, why do I think Miss Amy is doing Emma's yarn? Maybe? Yeah, that's another yarn I have to look at. This is going to have to go through, well, 3 on my Frivolous meter, probably 4 on yours, or 5. But if you need a work game, why not order 2? Because you never know.
That's what just bumped you to a 4, sister. 3 and make it, you buy 1 and make it work when you need to. That's what you do. You get extra credit for that.
I can't, and thank you to the podcast. I'm buying yarn the other day in Green Bay, and the gal behind me leans up and says, I thought you were on a yarn diet. Okay, so
busted.
I was busted, absolutely. So I think that is all that I have on my needles right now. So what do you have off your needles?
Well, may I just share one other thing I have on my needles?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Why look at show notes?
No, you don't have to. I wanted to share with our viewers how I am modifying the alliteration. So I have a particular fella in our family in mind for this new alliteration scarf.
Oh, wow.
So you can see I changed 3 variables. And this pattern, by the way, is by Theresa Schabes, or Schabes. I don't know how she pronounces her name, so I'm sorry, Miss Theresa. What I've decided to do is change the very first variable, which was a provisional cast on. And the reason I did that, Dawn, is because I'm going to ask the guys the next time we get together how they would like a scarf. Do they want one that has a nice invisible seam so that I can Kitchener it closed? Would they like one that has like a 3 needle bind off so there's a little ridge, little more firmness, definition, boundaries? Or would they like a cuff such as the ones that I've put on this one?
Sure.
So that was the first modification I did. Second one is I decided to quiet it down a little bit, not only with the muted colors, but with the width and the bands of color. I am not going to change nearly as frequently as I did with the other alliteration scarves because I don't believe I'm going to make it as long.
Oh, so just kind of tuck
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that just requires a few larger bits and bobs.
It does. It does. And I am not sure how this is going to work. I'll just have to follow along. I don't know what I'm going to use as a thematic solid. I have first thought I would just use grays because I thought they're very neutral.
I like that first gray you started with. They're right down there.
Yeah, don't you? It's a
Yeah.
nice little tonal. It's
Yep.
got some colors in there. I do have more of that, so I may use that more frequently. My third alteration or variable that I changed was the number of cast on stitches. So as many of you recall, the original cast on was 100, and I've been decreasing by 4 with each scarf so I can find just the right width that works for me. And to those of you who so sweetly suggested I just drop down to 12-inch circulars so that I could put as few as 64 on my needle, I'm really not coordinated and comfortable trying to knit on a 12-inch circular. I just don't know what my problem is.
I don't know what to do. Like, do you stick your pinkies in the air? My hands are too big for even, I think of the 9-inch, no way, but on the 12, I'm used to gripping. And so then because of that curve, it's like a weird feeling on my hands. And then I don't know what to do with my pinkies, like I'm British drinking tea or something. I'm knitting and my pinkies are in the air. It's like, yeah.
Well, I think it goes back to what you just said, Dawn, and it didn't occur to me until you said it. We do have large hands for women. We are not petite-handed women. So
I am not petite anything.
well, neither am I. So maybe we better move right on to what's off your needles. What's off your needles?
Oh, for the cry eye. Okay.
For the cry eye. I love that expression.
Look at this. This is my July UFO. I have not done color work for a while.
I love it, Dawn.
Yeah, it made me think I should always just have a simple color work project on the needles, because I'm trying to learn that method where you hold yarn in the right and in the left. And
yes,
if I do it for a couple of weeks and then put it, not do it again for a couple of months, I'm not going to get consistent with it. But the pattern is the Pine Star. It's a pattern by Mary Jane Mucklestone, and it is a paid-for pattern on Ravelry. I bought this yarn as a kit where Mary Jane worked together with Susan B. Anderson of the Barrett Wool Co. And so this is 2 of the worsted weights in the Wisconsin worsted yarn.
Yeah.
I forget the colorways, but they are in my
Oats and Hawthorn, I believe.
Oh, very good. And then I like the decrease.
Oh, I do too, Dawn.
I've never done that decrease before, so very interesting. And I did wet block it yesterday.
Okay.
I didn't look at the yarn to see if I could put it in the dryer. I'm going to guess not. But I know I don't do this very often. There are my floats.
What? Let me see. Look at you.
So I'm getting a little more consistent. Obviously, there's some things I'm still not carrying the yarn right, but well, maybe not. That's pretty consistent. But it's not like the first hat where it was so tight on the inside you couldn't wear it. So now the question comes in pom-pom. I'll have to try a fur, one of those faux fur pom-poms, or I have enough yarn left I think I could make. Yeah.
Can I just share something I learned this week as you're talking about pom-poms? I made a pom-pom for one of the hats that I had knit, and I was pretty confident I made it with that Clover pom-pom maker, and I really torque that yarn. I torque it tight, and then I tried to tie a square knot. Well, I got thinking, before I give these out for gifts, I better test that pom-pom to make sure that it's tight. And can I tell you that I discovered that my tight knot was not tight at all. So, of course, I had to chat with my husband because he is a jack of all trades, master of most. And he used to teach a group similar to Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts about knot tying. So I asked Mike, love, why is this happening? I am torquing it down. You see me doing that. I'm doing left over right, right over left. And it's loose. And he said, Penny, a square knot is designed to have ease so that you can push the two ends together and the knot will untie itself. Why did I not know that?
I didn't know that either.
So we started talking about the best way to tie these pom-pom hats so that they can be washed. I just didn't want recipients to wash a pom-pom and have their sewing or their washing machine full of yarn. So here's what we're going to try. And I think you've already tried it.
I did.
You know how when we tie our shoe, you put left over right? Well, I'm right-handed, so I always go right over left. Rather than stopping there, do that same wrap 2 to 3 more times. Torque it, pull it apart and torque it, and that anchors the yarn so it doesn't relax so you can tie that knot. So you tried that, right?
I did.
Okay.
And it seemed pretty tight. So that's my next finished object was another hat. I needed something on the 4th of July where I could take it with us for the fireworks because all I had on my needles was herbivore and that colorwork hat. So I tried that with these pom-poms.
Okay.
I went around multiple times. So this is the koala bear hat. I thought it was a free pattern, but I see now it's a $2 pattern.
Okay.
Very simple. I used Encore worsted in the denim colorway, and you literally just knit in the round until you're done, and then you use a 3-needle bind off.
Oh, look at that. See, it's so sweet and sharp and simple.
And I watched the Knit Purl Hunter video again on how to do that. And I used a clover pom-pom maker, the yellow one for these. Okay. So, you know, with kids, I'm worried about putting the button on the inside. Like you said, it could be a choking hazard. So I literally just ran the yarn back into the hat and then tied a bow like I was tying my shoes. So if they don't like the pom-pom, they can just take it off, or if they want to wash it and wanted to hassle with rethreading it back in there, they could do that. This was the child size, the largest of them. So not knowing, I have no idea what age. I should try this on some of your granddaughters and see. But I just thought it was a cute little hat.
So would you say your fibers are snug in the pom-poms?
Yeah, I don't think I can pull out like you just did.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm just destroying the yarn.
Okay. Well, I don't want you to do that.
Well, yeah, I'll give it a haircut. So.
Okay. Right here on mine. By the way, do you have a cosmetology license? Okay. Oh, you need a shearing license.
There you go. Yeah.
That is a very cute hat. Very cute.
And so you've inspired me to just keep doing hats. I think they make nice gifts. And it's a great way, like it was a great way to refresh my memory on how to do the 3-needle bind off. So.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I think that is all that is off my needles this week.
I do have a couple items that are off my needles. I have finally purchased, much to the chagrin of my frugal side, 2 heads I'd like to introduce to our audience. This would be Mo. And Mo was named by my husband. And he is sporting, unfortunately for him, it's not much color contrast. But this is the pattern called Briar, B-R-I-A-R, by Haley Geary. And look at those fun cables, Dawn.
Wow.
Aren't they fun?
I like them. I've not done a cable like that before.
I haven't either. So it was really fun. I enjoyed that. It is an adult size knit in Plymouth Encore worsted weight because it's washable. It will be a gift. It is actually, I think, number 17 on my 45 hats by 45 designers. And just so that our viewers know, I started a thread in Ravelry, and the title of the thread is 45 hats, 45 designers. And I'm going to do a running total list, if you will, of the hats that I've knit. The only thing I'm including in that list is the name of the hat and the designer. When I complete it all, I will upload an attachment, a Word document that I modified this week. So what I've done is I added yet another column, so it will have 6 columns. The 6th column is the technique that I chose the hat for. So for instance, this hat's technique was this cable. I'd never done it before. That's something I wanted to learn. I have other hats that have techniques just because they required a provisional cast on, and I wanted to make sure that I stayed current with that. So I'll post that when I'm done with number 45.
Right, and for our viewers who are not on Ravelry, if you would just email either Penny or I, we can forward that document on to you. So
yes, and my guess is, Dawn, I'm not going to be finished with that until probably sometime in October, because we go back to school here in just a couple of weeks. So my knitting time, I know, I'm sorry.
It'd be rude to start crying on the podcast.
It would be, but I think that was the same face you used to have when Mom said it was time to do the dishes. I'm just thinking. Anyway, one last item is off my needles, and this is,
look at that one.
Isn't it fun? This hat is number 16 on my number 45 hats by 45 designers. It is called the Uneek Hat, and there are homonyms. They are sound the same, unique and unique. They're spelled differently and have different meanings. But this is a pattern by Darn.Knit anyway, who happens to be Amy Pelletier and Carly Stipe, knit in Plymouth Encore color spun in the purple colorway. And it is a child's size, and I have a little one in mind for this. And I just have to say, there was not a technique in there. I did not choose it for the technique. I chose it for a simple pattern. Oh, really, Penny? So you can see the yarn.
Yeah.
See what isn't that a difference, Dawn? Look at it.
Yeah.
Simple pattern, and now it features the pattern. So
do you think you'll put a pom-pom on that one or no?
I am really pom-pom shy now. So I probably will. I think it'd be kind of fun to put a bright, sassy pink pom-pom on the top. Well, it did turn out kind of neat on the crown, didn't it?
Yeah, just the way the yarn ended.
And I think it'll keep it from being so pointed at the top. That is one thing I learned from this hat. I feel more comfortable closing my hats when I have more stitches rather than less.
Okay.
So when I am down to 4 stitches, it tends to get pointed. Yep. But if I really bind off and move the yarn through about 12 stitches, I have a more round crown.
You know, I don't know if you'd want to try, but how about a tassel versus a pom-pom?
That's a good question. I wouldn't be opposed to that, actually. You know what I would be interested in, though, to be honest? Oh, and by the way, this is Monette.
Oh, Monette. Hello, Monette.
Yeah. I would ask people, how do these wash up? Because there's something that tells me inside that both pom-poms and tassels can get pretty gnarly after a few washes, but maybe it's because I don't wash with them. I had boys. We didn't have pom-poms.
Yeah.
So I didn't really wash them. I'm only going by what I think. So maybe that might be something good for our viewers to write back about. Do they stay nice looking after multiple washings?
Yeah, and another question maybe for the viewers I was wondering this week is, how do they block their hats, if they block them? So are you blocking them flat? Are you putting them on a mannequin? Are you putting them around a balloon? I'm interested in all that, because with the color work, I thought if I could stretch that a little bit better, the color work would be flatter. And maybe that'll come with time after wearing it too. I'm not sure.
Well, I kind of think you might have just answered your own question, because depending on the fabric, I think would kind of dictate blocking. So for instance, these are machine washable and dryable. I did literally soak them and throw them in the dryer. I didn't block them because I wanted to see what it was going to look like after it had been machine washed and dried. Because I don't know about you, but I have found if you have washable fiber and you block it, it stays stretchy rather than tightens up and plumps up. But color work, that just might require a nice block.
And I've heard some people say they flat block them till they're just about dry.
Okay.
And then put them in the dryer for like 1 or 2 minutes. But
Ooh.
I have trouble with time things like that because I'd put them in and an hour later. Yes. And so I don't pay attention to the labels because I did a beautiful brioche hat using Nightshades by Harrisville, washed and dried it. I don't even think it could fit an American Girl doll.
Oh, that.
That is not a machine washable yarn. So lesson learned. And I'm not sure what to call that in Ravelry. Epic fail.
Shrinky dinks.
Do you remember Shrinky Dinks? I used to love those.
I know. Well, I don't know. That's a good conversation because I'm not so sure that there are definitive protocols.
No, there's probably not. But I just love to hear what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And kind of catch. And I think we all learn from our mistakes. We might as well learn from each other's mistakes too.
Well, and speaking of mistakes, I did not set our timer.
Oh.
So we're probably on hour 3 by now. But before we close today's episode, we might want to let our viewers know what's up at Frivolous and Frugal. Next week, we'll be able to talk about our virtual knit night.
Yes.
That will be the same day that we're recording. So we'll definitely give you an update on that. Can you think of anything else that's going on in Frivolous and Frugal?
Well, we're continuing the Finish, Fix, or Frog at Cal. Again, if you get a chance and you're in Ravelry, the pictures that people are posting in there are stellar. I mean, people are finishing sweaters, socks, hats, mittens. They're frogging some stuff. If I just need something to be inspired by, it is that. We'll draw again next week for a drawing for that. But again, whether you're fixing something, whether you finished it or you decided to frog it, feel free to post your pictures. And it's been fun to get emails from some of the viewers too and how gracious they are. And so we appreciate that. Otherwise, we are on all the social medias. So on Ravelry, we have a Frivolous and Frugal podcast tab. So it's in the groups tab. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Okay, I was on Instagram one day and it says I average 2 minutes a day on Instagram. I might try to up that to 3 this week just to be, woo.
I think I do 2 minutes per week. So I have some work to do in that area too.
We need to start pressuring Brianna to be our social media director.
Yes.
And then Facebook too. So, and then Penny in the show notes posts them right down below here on YouTube, but also in the Ravelry group where you can find our email addresses. So don't hesitate to email us. And again, if you don't mind sharing your thoughts about hats and how you block them and how you decide which yarn to which pattern, we would love to hear that. I think that's it, unless you have something else.
I don't.
Time to say goodbye.
What did you say?
Is it time to say goodbye?
It is. You poor thing. Tinks-a-lot.
Oh, yeah.
Frivolous Miss Tinks-a-lot. And I would like to hope and wish you a week of a sweet full of a sweet twist of the Frivolous and Frugal. So thanks so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you in episode 21. Have a great week.
Bye.